today in Richmond at Senator Bill DeSteff's plush headquarters office here on the third floor in the General Assembly building in Richmond. This is the opening day of the 2017 General Assembly. Senator DeSteff was so nice to allow us to broadcast from his office. We want to thank him for that. And Andrew's Army here in full force today at 6 a.m. Kind of shocking. I didn't think Aaron make it here at 6 a.m., but Aaron, good job. Aaron Goldbranson here at 6 a.m. Boyd Marcus with us, of course, Senator DeSteff. He's the host with us here. And, of course, it's Andrew's Army, so Andrew Vehorn is here. Welcome all. We've got a lot to talk about today. We're going to start, though, with the inauguration coming out next week. I'm going to be there live all week in our new studio in Washington, D.C., right across the street from the White House. I'll be able to see it at my window, and that is the offices of Avenue Strategies, the new galactic company launched by former Donald Trump campaign manager Corey Lewandowski. And we're going to be up there all week and looking forward to bringing you all the action, God willing, because the protesters say they're going to stop traffic, they're going to block the interstates, they're going to stop Amtrak from coming in, they're going to shut the metro down by standing in front of the tracks. And could you imagine, gentlemen, if Republicans were doing this, right? What do you think, Boyd?
Well, I mean, I think that everybody would be the press would be out there saying, what sore losers, and how horrible this is that these people aren't, obeying the and accepting their loss. But, there's a double standard there. It's always been.
That's exactly right, Boyd. The press would be saying that Donald Trump needs to quell his supporters, tell them to accept the results of the election. We told you this was going to happen. We asked these questions, but nobody asked those questions to the other side prior to election night.
Well, Aaron, I mean, you can imagine all people want to do, whether you agree with this president or not. This didn't happen during Obama. It didn't happen during Bill Clinton. I covered that. None of this happened. I mean, you get to be the president, whatever. So all this does is make it inconvenient and disruptive for the people that want to go, right?
These kids need to go back to class, enjoy mommy and daddy's meal plan, or go find a job, and stop whining.
Stop whining.
Yeah.
Get out of the basement.
Yeah.
Plus, there's 1,000 rooms that is being paid for by somebody. And if you've tried to get a room in D.C. that week, I mean, it's $500 at the day's in, right? So Who's paying for all of this?
I guess they're not at the Trump hotel.
Well, no, that's like $5,000 a day or something. I don't think they're going to be there. Let's get to, we had an election last night. I'm going to start with Senator Bill DeSteff. He's a Republican state senator, if you don't know him, from Virginia Beach, District 8. Right?
Good morning, John. District 8.
Right?
Virginia Beach.
That's right, the Virginia Beach. I try to do this by memory. We had 3 special elections yesterday. Some people saying maybe you'd get up today and Dick Saswell will be in charge, but not so much.
Not a chance. And, John, this has been probably the 3rd or 4th year that you and I have called different elections, and we've called every one with the exception of Joe Morrissey. I called the Varstoni on that one. But outside of that, we've been dead on with our predictions.
So basically, I'm 98% and you're 100%.
Yeah, but don't tell anyone that because they won't believe it, and my head will get real big, and I won't be able to walk out the door. It is
true that not only have the two of us called every one, but we've called the percentages.
Yeah.
Even the Trump election, both of us agree. Well, early on, I know who were thinking Rubio would win, so we'll kind of give you a pass on that. But in the general, both of us thought he was going to crush the blue wall.
Yep, and we were dead on. So it's good to have 21 in the Senate again. It's good to be in the majority, not the minority. And it's going to be a great year. Rocky won at the beach, so life is good. We've got another Republican at the beach, so we keep that Republican streak in I think it's the 21st district down there. Scott Taylor's old seat. Scott's doing a great job up in Congress, so life is good.
Well, I mean, he got on the Appropriations Committee, right? I think that was the first freshman ever to get on the Appropriations Committee, so you got to be excited about that.
Yeah, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's the only freshman in Virginia on appropriations, and we truly need somebody strong on appropriations, and Scott's there for it. Scott will stand up, he'll do what's right, and he'll recognize, he already recognizes what our military means to us, but I served with Scott, and he's a very dynamic guy. He'll do a great job. So I'm looking forward to
we're excited, and of course, for those of you, probably all of our listeners know this, but those of you that don't, both Senator Steph and I went all in for Scott Taylor in the June primary over Randy Forbes, and that went all in, predicted he was going to. I put a lot on the line for that, but I think Taylor's going to be a fabulous representative for us. So is Tom Garrett. We're looking forward to that. Joining us, who just popped in, candidate for Lieutenant Governor, House of Delegates member, Republican, Virginia Beach, Glenn Davis. He didn't send any emails. Glenn, good to have you with us.
John, heard you were here this morning. Glad to drop in and say hi. Forgot the donuts, though. I'm sorry.
And the coffee.
And the coffee.
No donuts, no coffee. In fact, nobody brought anything except Boyd Marcus brought a Coke for himself. That's
But we'll
it.
be here until 10 o'clock.
Now that Glenn Davis popped in, and we appreciate your coming in, Glenn, but we got to talk about this LG race, and I know you don't want to get into this, but what's this deal with this emails and Vogel and Reeves and lawsuits, and what's the deal here?
Well, I can't answer those questions. Like I mentioned last week, you probably have more insight than I do. I'm laser focused. We came back. I've got 22 bills that have been drafted. I've got a limit of 15. I've got a week to get Virginia coal, out to Estonia. There's a little bit of a logistical issue on trying to get that coal out there. So my head's kind of been down working on that. Obviously, I see the same stuff you do, but look, we're in this thing to win based on jobs and the economy. That's what's been winning it for us. That's what we're sticking with. Yeah, there's a little bit of noise on the outside. Does it help us? Y'all can make that decision. But we're laser focused on bringing jobs back, and we've realized I don't have to wait to BLG to do it. I may have to BLG before we become number one in the nation again for business and job growth, but we're going to start making that trend line now.
What do you think, Andrew?
I'd like for Glenn to talk a little bit about what you're doing with coal, because this is really exciting. We were talking last night, and it's a way that we can bring back mining jobs to Southwest Virginia without actually burning the coal. So you don't have the environmental impacts that most folks are so adversarial to.
It is. So at the risk of, so I got a D and AP chemistry. So I've been doing a lot of catch up on this whole chem thing, but there's a company, Skeleton Technologies, in Estonia. They're the world's leader on ultracapacitors. So they're not really batteries, but they kind of look like batteries. But the long story short is they use something called curved graphene to make their products, which allows so much quick energy to come out of these devices. Graphene comes from any carbon source, and we're trying to get them to use Virginia coal to do it. Right now they use a metal, let me mess this up, metal oxide, metal something or other. But graphene, one of the cheapest places to get it is from coal. They want to open another manufacturing facility. They have one in Germany, one in Estonia. They're talking to Michigan right now. They have some very large clients in the U.S. They want to go after a U.S. agency, which requires domestic distribution. Why wouldn't they be in Virginia?
John, this is the kind of out-of-box thinking we need more of in Richmond, in any chamber in the General Assembly, in any level of government.
Yeah, but it's a lot more interesting to talk about these emails, don't you think?
Yes.
Especially we want to know Senator Jill Vogel running for Lieutenant Governor and Senator Bryce Reeves running for Lieutenant Governor along with Glenn Davis. If no one else gets in, those are the three. Davis going to Estonia trying to bring jobs back, and Vogel and Reeves involved in this big email scandal that we've had on our show, and no one knows exactly what happened. Cell phones involved, beepers, everything else. So now what happens like when they get together? Have anybody seen them? Were they at the party last evening? Is that kind of an awkward thing, Andrew? What do you think?
They were both at the lunch yesterday. They didn't interact much.
Not much interaction. I would probably not much going on.
No, it was, I think there's some tension in the air.
Tension in the air. Well, that's a very politically correct way of putting it. We're not going to get Davis on the spot here, but we'll get the Steph on the spot when he comes back because he's in the Senate chamber. But, Bill, I mean, come on, right? We got this lieutenant governor's race, and we got accusations going back and forth. And, I mean, isn't this the kind of stuff that just drives people bananas?
Well, the Senate's a collegial body.
Yeah, right.
It truly is.
Come on, man.
Trust me, you're going to see folks very professional on this. Both of them have their side of the story. They'll work it out. We don't need to put this on the front page of a paper. It's something that they'll work out, and we'll move forward from there. What I want to hear, I don't care about all the trash. I don't care about all the trash talk. I don't care about any of that. I want to know who's going to do what, who's going to create jobs, who's going to stimulate the economy, who's going to work with both sides to make sure that we still keep a majority in the Senate. So we want to make sure we have a Republican majority, but we need somebody who can work with both sides to get stuff done. That's what it's about to me. It has nothing to do with, who shot John, and who cares, in my opinion. Then again, I never negative campaign. I never say or do anything negative when I'm campaigning. I try to be positive the whole time. And like we said, a lot of races have been lost because of that. So we keep it positive. We keep it pushing. And, I want to know what the candidates are going to do. I want to know how they're going to help me. I want to know who's going to be the strong leader of the Senate, because face it, what does the LG do? The number one job of the LG is to run the Senate. And if there's a tie, he breaks that tie. So that's what I'm looking for. I want a strong leader. I want somebody who's going to work on jobs, the economy, and truly focus on expanding the economy in Virginia.
Well, that sounds like a campaign ad for Glenn Davis.
Okay,
all right, good. Now that he's here, okay. Well, I'm gonna not put you guys on the spot, but let's get the roundtable involved. Emily Brewer just come in. Let's get your opinion here. This right now email scandal going on between Reeves and Vogel. I'm going to go around, except for the elected officials, and tell me who it hurt or if it matters. Starting with Aaron Goldbranson.
Well, number one, I want to know, when are they going to get in the ring and have a cage match and you can referee it? Because that'll be a great fundraiser for the party if we did that.
I'll do my own fundraiser for that.
There you go.
Party.
Yeah, there you go. And then, but no, on a serious note, I think it helped Glenn Davis because he's the only one not wallowing in the mud right now. And that's my simple answer to it.
You think anybody else jumps in?
Not when they see the finance reports come out.
Yeah. All right. Boyd, Marcus?
Well, I agree on Aaron on the nobody else jumping in. I suspect the ground is set on the lieutenant governor's race. We have three people who have, I think, raised a lot of money and have built themselves pretty good bases of support. I think that, whenever you have a controversy like this in a multi-candidate race, the people that get hurt are the people that are in the middle of the controversy. And that's certainly where it is now. And I agree, Glenn is the beneficiary of whatever is happening over there. I do think, though, that depending on whether there actually is any fire behind all the smoke, and what else develops from all this, I'm not sure the actual voters will remember much of any of this in the time they get to the primary. But it does, it does keep the attention. And if all that the voter remembers is, oh, yeah, there were a couple of, there was something going on there that we didn't like. And that other guy, I haven't heard anything bad about him. And sometimes that's all a voter needs to know when he walks into the polls. I haven't heard anything bad about that guy, and he's, it sounds like I'll vote for him. All
right, so you're basically saying not much impact between the two senators. Davis is a beneficiary.
I'd say that's right. I think that if something out of this whole thing became crystal clear, that one side or the other had engaged in skullduggery or, and it was actually clear, then that person would, certainly be hurt. But as long as it's kind of a confused, he said, she said, it's like a lot of things in politics. You can say a lot back and forth, and it doesn't really it becomes a blur to the voters.
All right, Andrew Vehorn.
I think the question is, does it stop here, or does it continue kind of under the radar and in these anonymous emails? If it stops, it might go away. Obviously, Glenn is the beneficiary because he's the one that's squeaky clean and kind of rides through the wreckage, as you saw in Days of Thunder. If it doesn't stop, kind of harkens back, and Boyd can refresh all of our memories, but back to Gil Davis and Ken Stolley, where they kind of shot each other, and Mark Early emerged from the ashes.
What do you think, Emily?
So I think that, obviously everyone at this table is pretty much at the ground zero level of grassroots politics. And so we've got to consider that we're not going into a convention. So this isn't going to matter at the same level as it would in a primary. There's a silent majority out there. So unless the grassroots leaders are going to just carry this banner and keep on down the road with it, I think it's going to be a non-issue.
Non-issue. I think if you're Glenn Davis, you popped a champagne on New Year's Eve. I think this thing fell in his lap. And I think what, in my opinion, was a race where Davis was a big underdog, had a lot of ground to make up. Vogel was a clear favorite. I think this throws it open. It's now a three-way race, three-way dead heat. Davis has come from absolutely nowhere in this race, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I tell it like it is. You came from nowhere, and now we got a three-way dead heat. We don't know how this is going to turn out. And if you're Jill Vogel, you had a big lead. Now it's in question. And I wouldn't be surprised if somebody else jumped in. It would not shock me. We're out of time for this segment. We're live at the General Assembly in Senator Bill DeSteff's office. Andrew's Army is here. Emily Brewer, Andrew Vehorn, Aaron Goldbranson, Boyd Marcus, of course, Senator Bill DeSteff. He's the host. And Glenn Davis has graced us with his presence. Trucking the Truth. We'll be right back.